The alarm went off at 800 hours on station Kepler 9, but this was not a normal alarm. This was the kind of sound that made everyone stop whatever they were doing and pay attention. Lieutenant Hana was drinking her morning coffee when the red light started flashing across the security station. She put down her cup and ran to the main console. Ambassador Vextar burst through the security station doors. The tall reptilian alien was breathing hard, his scales flashing between green and dark red. This color change meant panic in his species. Hana had never seen the dignified ambassador look so disturbed before. "My cubs," Vextar said, his voice shaking. "Kip and Ral are gone. They are missing from our quarters." Hana felt her stomach drop. This was bad, very bad. The Kryn were one of the most powerful species in the Galactic Coalition. They were apex predators from a harsh world, and their cubs were protected with extreme care. Losing Kryn cubs could start a war. "When did you last see them?" Hana asked, already pulling up security footage on her screens. 2 hours ago. I went to prepare morning meal. When I returned, they were gone. The door was locked from inside. They could not have left. Vextar's claws scraped against the metal desk. "Please, they are only younglings." 6 cycles old. Hana hit the station-wide alert button. Within minutes, every security officer on Kepler 9 would be searching. The station had over 50,000 residents from 100 different species. Finding 2 small Kryn cubs in this massive place would be difficult. Chief Talmor arrived next. He was Vextar's head of security, a massive Kryn warrior with scars across his snout. He looked at the ambassador and then at Hana with cold eyes. "How did this happen on your station?" Talmor demanded. "We came here for safety, for diplomacy, and now our young are lost." Hana kept her voice calm and professional. "We will find them, Chief. Every camera, every sensor, every officer is now looking." She pulled up the security feeds from the diplomatic quarters. The footage showed the hallway outside Vextar's rooms. At 0630 hours, everything looked normal. At 0635, there was a brief flicker in the feed. When it came back, the hallway was still empty. But something felt wrong. More Kryn warriors arrived at the security station. They filled the room with their presence, their scales rippling with aggressive colors. Other species gave them space. When Kryn warriors were angry, smart people stayed away. "We will conduct our own search," Talmor announced. "Your human technology has already failed." "Chief, please," Vextar said quietly. "Let them help. Starting a conflict will not bring my cubs back faster." Hana appreciated the ambassador's wisdom, but she could see Talmor was not convinced. The security chief turned and left with his warriors. She knew they would tear through the station looking for the cubs. This could get ugly fast. She opened the communication channel to all security teams. "This is Lieutenant Hana. We have a code yellow situation. 2 Kryn cubs names Kip and Ral are missing from Sector 7. They are approximately 1 meter tall. Green scales with blue markings. Approach with caution and gentleness. They may be frightened. Report any sightings immediately." Her team responded quickly. Officers began searching every corridor, every storage room, every maintenance shaft. The station's AI started analyzing movement patterns and heat signatures, but so far nothing. Vextar sat down heavily in a chair. For a proud Kryn ambassador, this was like admitting defeat. They have never wandered before. They know the rules. Stay in quarters unless an adult is present. Always stay together. They are good cubs. Hana pulled up more footage going back through the night. "Ambassador, is there anywhere they like to go? Anything they're curious about?" "They enjoy the observation decks. The stars fascinate them, and they ask many questions about other species, especially humans." Vextar looked at her. "They think humans are interesting because you smile so much." Kryn do not smile. That gave Hana an idea. She pulled up footage from the observation decks. Nothing. She checked the entertainment sectors, the food courts, the garden levels. Still nothing. Where could 2 small cubs hide in a station this size? An hour passed, then 2. The search expanded to every level of Kepler 9. Other ambassadors started calling, worried about the security situation. Some species began talking about evacuating. If the Kryn thought the station was unsafe, it could collapse the whole diplomatic mission here. Hana's communicator buzzed. It was Officer Jiwon from the lower decks. "Lieutenant, we found claw marks in Maintenance Tunnel 42. Small ones. Could be the cubs. Seal that area," Hana ordered. "Send the information to Ambassador Vextar's team." But when Talmor's warriors searched the tunnel, they found it empty. The claw marks were old. False alarm. Vextar's scales had turned completely dark now. This was a color of deep mourning in Kryn culture. I have failed as a parent. This dishonor will follow me forever. We'll find them, Hana promised, though she was starting to worry. 3 hours missing now. The station was enormous. The cubs could be anywhere. She decided to review the patrol logs. Every security officer had to log their routes and report anything unusual. She pulled up the morning shift reports. Most were routine. Officer Minho reported a broken light in Sector 3. Officer Kyung mentioned a locked door that needed maintenance. Officer Dae Jung reported nothing unusual on his patrol through Sector 7. Sector 7. That was the diplomatic quarters. Right where the cubs went missing. Hana pulled up Dae Jung's file. He was 26 years old. Been on the station for 2 years. Good record. Multiple commendations for his ability to work with alien species. He grew up on a colony world with diverse populations. Everyone liked him. She checked his patrol route and timestamps. He had walked through Corridor 37 at exactly 6:40 hours. That was just after the cubs would have disappeared. Did he see anything? Hana called him on the communicator. Daejung, this is Lieutenant Hana. I need you to come to the security station immediately. Yes, Lieutenant. On my way. When Daejung arrived 15 minutes later, he looked confused but not worried. He was wearing his standard patrol uniform with the equipment harness across his back. He was a bit sweaty, probably from walking his route all morning. Daejung, you patrolled Sector 7 this morning around 6:40. Did you see anything unusual? 2 Kryn cubs are missing. His eyes went wide. Missing? No, I didn't see anything. Just the usual morning activity. Some diplomats heading to breakfast. A maintenance bot fixing a wall panel. That's it. Hana studied his face. He seemed genuinely confused. Nothing else? No sounds? No movement in the corridors? Daejung thought hard. No, Lieutenant. It was a quiet morning. I would have reported anything strange. Ambassador Vextar looked at the young human officer with desperate eyes. Please, think carefully. They are my younglings. I'm sorry, Ambassador. I truly didn't see them. Daejung looked upset now, like he felt guilty for not having answers. Hana dismissed him but made a note to review his helmet camera footage later. Something about the timing bothered her. The cubs disappeared right when Daejung was in that area, but he seemed honest. The search continued. 4 hours now. Station Commander Park was getting calls from the Galactic Coalition headquarters. This was becoming an interstellar incident. Talmor returned to the security station. We have found nothing. No trail, no scent, no evidence. It is as if they vanished like ghosts. Vextar made a low, mournful sound. In Kryn culture, losing cubs was the worst failure imaginable. Hana felt terrible for him. She looked at her screens again, reviewing every bit of data they had. There had to be something they were missing. 2 small cubs could not just disappear from a locked room on a space station, but somehow they had. 6 hours had passed since the cubs went missing. Lieutenant Hana had not left the security station. Her coffee had gone cold 3 times. Empty cups littered her desk. The screens in front of her showed dozens of camera feeds, all of them useless. Station Commander Park stood behind her, arms crossed. He was a serious man who rarely showed emotion, but even he looked worried now. The Kryn delegation is threatening to leave the coalition. They're saying we can't protect their people. Hana rubbed her tired eyes. Sir, we've searched 90% of the station. Every officer is looking. The AI has scanned every heat signature. We've checked air vents, cargo holds, even the waste processing areas. There's no sign of them. The commander's jaw tightened. Other species are evacuating. They think if the Kryn leave, there might be conflict. We need to find those cubs before this station falls apart. Ambassador Vextar sat in the corner of the room. He had not moved in 2 hours. His scales had gone completely gray, a color Hana had never seen before. She didn't need a translator to know what it meant. He had given up hope. Officer Minho burst through the door. Lieutenant, Chief Talmor's warriors just broke down the door to the Veloxian ambassador's quarters. They're searching without permission. The Veloxians are threatening to file formal complaints. Stop them, Commander Park ordered. Use force if necessary. Sir, with respect, trying to stop angry Kryn warriors might start a battle in the corridors. The commander closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Get Ambassador Vexitar to control his people, then. Hana walked over to the grieving ambassador. She knelt down to his level, something she had learned was respectful in Kryn culture. Ambassador, your warriors are causing problems. We need your help. Vextar looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. They search for my cubs because I cannot. They are warriors. Action is all they know. They're scaring people, and they're not finding Kip and Ral. Please, let us handle this properly. Slowly, the ambassador stood. He was at least 7 feet tall, towering over Hana. But there was no threat in his posture, only sadness. He activated his communicator and spoke in the clicking, hissing language of his people. Within minutes, Talmor responded. The aggressive searches would stop. Thank you, Hana said quietly. Do not thank me yet. If my cubs are not found, this incident will have consequences beyond what you can imagine. In my culture, losing younglings brings shame to entire bloodlines. It ends careers. It destroys families. Hana returned to her desk and pulled up the security footage again. She had watched it 20 times already, but she had to be missing something. She focused on Sector 7, the diplomatic quarters. The footage showed normal morning activity. Aliens walking to breakfast. Maintenance bots doing their work. Security officers on patrol. Wait. She paused the video and zoomed in on one section. Officer Dae-jung was walking through Corridor 37 at 0640 hours. The timestamp was right. The location was right. But something was strange about the image. She ran a thermal analysis on the footage. Most humans showed a standard heat signature, but Dae-jung's signature was slightly elevated, especially around his back and shoulders. Like he was warmer than normal, or like there was additional heat source near him. Computer, track Officer Dae-jung's movements through the station from 0630 to current time. The AI began processing. A map appeared showing Dae-jung's patrol route in blue. He had walked through Sector 7, then Sector 4, then the lower decks, then back up to Sector 9. A normal patrol route. Now overlay all reported heat signatures from small life forms during the same time period. Red dots appeared on the map. Most were stationary, showing where small aliens lived or worked. But 2 red dots moved through the station in an interesting pattern. They followed Dae-jung's patrol route exactly, always appearing where he had been moments before. Hana sat up straight. Computer, why weren't these 2 heat signatures flagged earlier? The AI's calm voice responded. The signatures were within 0.5 meters of Officer Dae-jung's signature. They registered as equipment heat or normal body temperature variation. 0.5 meters. That was touching distance. Right on top of him. Hana pulled up Dae-jung's helmet camera footage. The cameras that officers wore recorded everything they saw during patrols. She started the footage from 0630 hours. The video showed normal corridor views. Dae-jung walking, checking doors, nodding to passing aliens. His breathing was steady. Everything looked routine. But Hana turned up the audio and listened carefully. At 0642 hours, there was a soft sound. A clicking noise. She knew that sound. She had heard it before when visiting Kryn families. It was the sound cubs made when they were content. Like a cat purring, but with clicks instead of rumbles. She played it again. Yes, definitely clicking. But Dae-jung had not reported seeing any Kryn cubs. How could his camera pick up that sound if there were no cubs around, unless they were very, very close to him? Too close for the camera to see. Hana stood up so fast her chair fell over. I need Officer Dae-jung back here right now. Commander Park looked at her. You think he's involved? I think he knows something he doesn't know he knows. While they waited, Hana reviewed more of the helmet footage. At 0715 hours, another clicking sound. At 0803, more clicking. At 0945, what sounded like a small chirp. But in all the footage, Dae-jung never turned around, never acknowledged any sounds, never acted like anything was wrong. Officer Kyung called Dae-jung on the radio. Dae-jung, Lieutenant Hana needs you in the security station. Drop what you're doing and come now. Copy that, on my way. Hana waited, her heart pounding. If she was right about this, it would be the strangest case she had ever worked on. If she was wrong, they were back to having no leads at all. 15 minutes later, Dae-jung walked into the security station. He looked tired. His uniform was a bit rumpled and there were sweat stains under his arms. He had been walking patrol routes for almost 10 hours straight without proper breaks, trying to help find the missing cubs. "Lieutenant, you wanted to see me?" Hana studied him carefully. He looked normal. Tired, but normal. His equipment harness sat across his back and shoulders like every officer wore. Standard issue gear with pockets for tools and a communication unit. "Dae-jung, I need you to review some footage with me." She played the helmet camera video from his patrol. He watched it on the screen, looking confused. "I don't understand. That's just my normal patrol. What am I supposed to see?" "Listen," Hana said, and played the audio with the volume turned up high. The clicking sounds came through clearly. Dae-jung's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, I guess I heard something. I thought it was just station equipment. The ventilation systems make weird noises all the time." "That's not equipment. That's the sound Kryn cubs make when they're happy." Dae-jung looked even more confused. "But I didn't see any cubs. I would have reported that immediately." Ambassador Vextar had been listening. He moved closer, hope flickering in his eyes for the first time in hours. "Young human, think very carefully. Did you encounter my cubs at any point during your patrol?" "No, sir. I swear. I've been trying to remember anything that might help. I've walked my route 3 more times today looking for clues, but I saw nothing." Hana made a decision. "Dae-jung, I need you to take off your equipment harness." "What? Why? Just do it. Please." Looking uncomfortable, Dae-jung reached back and started undoing the straps of his patrol harness. It was designed to distribute weight across the shoulders and back, carrying tools and equipment comfortably. Every officer wore one during long patrols. He pulled the harness forward over his shoulders and 2 small scaly heads popped up from behind his back. The room went completely silent. 2 Kryn cubs, one with blue markings and one with purple markings, were nestled against Dae-jung's back. They had been sleeping in the space between his undershirt and the equipment harness. Their small clawed hands gripped his shirt. Their eyes blinked sleepily at the sudden light. Dae-jung looked down at them in total shock. "What? How? When?" Kip made a happy clicking sound and yawned, showing tiny sharp teeth. Ral chirped and snuggled closer to Dae-jung's warmth. Ambassador Vextar made a sound between a sob and a laugh. He rushed forward, reaching for his cubs with shaking hands. Chief Talmor stood frozen, his mouth open in disbelief. Commander Park started laughing. He actually laughed, something Hana had never heard him do before, and Dae-jung just stood there holding his equipment harness, looking at the 2 sleepy cubs with complete and utter confusion on his face. "I swear," he said weakly. "I had no idea they were there." The silence in the security station lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then everything happened at once. Ambassador Vexatar moved faster than Hana had ever seen a Kryn move. He carefully took Kip and Ral from behind Dae-jung's back, holding them against his chest. His scales flashed through a dozen colors: relief, joy, confusion, anger, and back to relief again. He made soft clicking sounds and the cubs clicked back, still sleepy and confused about all the attention. Chief Talmor rushed forward, checking the cubs with his scanner. "No injuries. No distress markers. They are healthy. They are better than healthy." He looked at Dae-jung with an expression that was hard to read. "Human, explain yourself." Dae-jung held up his hand, still holding the equipment harness. "I don't understand. I really don't. I had no idea they were there." Commander Park had stopped laughing, but he still had a smile on his face. "Officer Dae-jung, think back. When did you last take off your harness?" Dae-jung thought hard. "Yesterday evening. I went off duty at 1800 hours. I hung up my harness in my locker, went to my quarters, slept, came back this morning at 0600. I put on the harness and started my patrol. And you felt nothing? No extra weight? No movement?" "No, sir. The harness is designed to distribute weight. I carry about 10 kilos of equipment normally. I guess I just didn't notice a few more kilos." He looked at the cubs, who were now fully awake and staring at him with large, curious eyes. They're so small, and they were warm against my back. I thought it was just body heat from walking. Lieutenant Hana pulled up more helmet footage. Computer, go back to 0635 hours. Show me the maintenance corridor in Sector 7. The screen changed to show a narrow service corridor. The footage was from Dae-jung's camera. At 0635 hours, he had turned into this corridor to check a reported malfunction with a wall panel. In the dim light of the corridor, two small shapes huddled against the wall. Kip and Ral looking scared and lost. The corridor's ventilation system was making loud grinding noises. To small cubs, it must have sounded terrifying. Dae-jung's voice came through the speaker. Hey there. Are you two okay? On the screen, he knelt down slowly. He held out his hand, palm up, in a gesture of peace. The cubs looked at him with frightened eyes. Their scales were showing stress colors. It's just the ventilation system. It's loud, but it won't hurt you. You shouldn't be here. Let's get you somewhere safe, okay? He stayed kneeling, not moving closer, letting them come to him. This was good technique. Hana had seen him do this with other nervous aliens before. He had a natural talent for making species feel comfortable. Kip took a step forward, then another. Ral followed. They clicked softly, a sound of uncertainty. That's it. You're doing great. I'm Dae-jung. I'm a security officer. I'm going to help you. The cubs came closer. Then, without warning, Kip grabbed onto Dae-jung's uniform and started climbing. Ral did the same. They climbed up his chest, over his shoulders, and settled onto his back. Dae-jung laughed softly. Okay, I guess that works too. You want to climb? That's fine. Let me just finish checking this panel and then we'll get you back to your family. He stood up carefully, adjusting his balance. The cubs shifted, getting comfortable. Then he reached back and pulled his equipment harness on over them. The harness created a secure space, holding them gently against his back. There. Now you won't fall off. Comfortable? Both cubs made happy clicking sounds. Good. Let's finish this patrol and then I'll take you to security. They'll know who you belong to. But as the footage continued, something strange happened. Dae-jung walked back into the main corridor. He checked 2 more doors. He spoke to a passing maintenance worker about a lighting issue. He continued his normal patrol routine, and somewhere in those next 5 minutes, he completely forgot about the cubs on his back. Hana watched it happen in real time. His body language changed from careful and aware to relaxed and routine. The cubs stopped making clicking sounds. They settled in, their body heat mixing with his. The weight became normal. He just forgot. Ambassador Vexitar watched the footage with intense focus. The climbing behavior. I have not seen that in generations. Chief Talmor moved closer to the screen. Ancient instinct. Before we built cities, before civilization, our ancestors lived in herds. Cubs would ride on the backs of large herd animals during migration. Warm bodies, steady movement, the rhythm of walking. It kept them safe and calm. But that was millions of years ago, Vextar said. Modern cubs do not do this anymore. We carry them in our arms. Talmor looked at Dae-jung with new interest. Apparently, this human triggered the ancient response. His body temperature, his heartbeat, his walking rhythm. To the cub's instincts, he was safe. He was a herd animal. Dae-jung looked embarrassed. I'm really sorry. I should have paid attention. I should have brought them straight to security. I forgot. That sounds terrible, but I really did forget they were there. Vextar handed Kip to one of his assistants and approached Dae-jung. The human looked nervous, probably expecting anger. But the ambassador placed a clawed hand gently on his shoulder. Young officer, look at my cubs. Dae-jung looked. Kip and Ral were staring at him with bright, alert eyes. Their scales were showing colors of contentment and happiness. They looked healthier than they had in the earlier footage. They have been stressed since we arrived on this station, Vextar explained. New environment, strange sounds, different gravity. They stopped eating well. They woke with nightmares. I worried for them constantly. He gestured to the cubs. Look at them now. They are calm. They are rested. You did not harm them by forgetting. You helped them by being exactly what their instincts needed. But I caused a huge problem. The whole station was searching. People were evacuating. I caused an interstellar incident by being careless. Commander Park spoke up. You caused an incident by being human. You saw scared children, you helped them feel safe, and you continued doing your job. The forgetting part was unfortunate, but the helping part was good. Hana had been thinking about the bigger picture. Ambassador, your cubs left your quarters. They went into the maintenance corridors on their own. Why? Vextar's scales darkened with shame. I was preparing meal. I thought they were in the sleeping room. I did not hear them leave. This is my failure as a parent. The door was locked from the inside, Hannah pointed out. How did they get out? Talmor checked his datapad. The ventilation grate. They are small enough to fit through the ductwork. They must have been exploring. Exploring or escaping? Hannah asked gently. Vextar looked at her sharply. What do you mean? You said they've been stressed. Nightmares, not eating well. Maybe they weren't trying to cause trouble. Maybe they were looking for something that made them feel better. She pulled up station maps. This maintenance corridor, where Dae-jung found them, is directly below your quarters. They didn't wander far. They just went somewhere quiet, away from the noise and stress. Talmor studied the map, and the human found them there. By chance. Not entirely by chance, Hannah said. Dae-jung walks that corridor every morning. Same time, same route. Consistent, predictable. Maybe the cubs had seen him before through the ventilation grates. Maybe they recognized him. Dae-jung looked surprised. You think they went looking for me? I think they went looking for something safe. And you were there. Kip made a chirping sound and reached toward Dae-jung with tiny claws. Ral did the same. Both cubs were making clicking noises now, the happy sounds they had made while sleeping on his back. Vextar smiled. It was a strange expression on his reptilian face, showing many sharp teeth. But it was definitely a smile. It seems they have chosen you as safe, young officer. This is rare. Cubs do not trust easily. I don't know what to say, Dae-jung admitted. I'm just glad they're okay. I'm sorry for all the trouble. The trouble is over, Commander Park announced. And I think we all learned something today. This station exists to build understanding between species. Sometimes that understanding happens in conference rooms with diplomats. Sometimes it happens in maintenance corridors with lost children. He looked at everyone in the room. Let's make sure this story gets told properly. Not as a failure of security, but as an example of natural connection across species. Hannah nodded. The commander was right. This could have been a disaster. Instead, it was something special. A human security officer and two alien cubs, brought together by instinct and chance. Vextar gently lifted Ral and held him close. I owe you a debt, Officer Dae-jung. You kept my cubs safe when I could not. In Kryn culture, this creates a bond. You are now considered part of our family circle. Dae-jung's eyes widened. Oh, that's a great honor. Thank you, Ambassador. The honor is ours. The cubs clicked happily, and for the first time in hours, everyone in the security station relaxed. The news spread through Station Kepler 9 faster than any official announcement could travel. Within an hour, everyone knew about the missing cubs and where they had been found. The story became legend almost immediately. Some versions were accurate. Others claimed Dae-jung had hidden the cubs on purpose. A few wild rumors suggested the cubs could turn invisible. But the truth was strange enough without exaggeration. Ambassador Vextar had taken Kip and Ral back to his quarters for a proper meal and rest. But first he insisted on a full medical examination. Chief Talmor brought the station's xenobiology specialist, Dr. Reyes, to check the cubs completely. Dr. Reyes was a serious woman who had worked with dozens of alien species. She ran her scanners over both cubs while they clicked and chirped, still full of energy despite their adventure. Remarkable, she said after several minutes. Their stress hormones are lower than yesterday's readings. Their digestion has improved. Their sleep patterns normalized. They're actually healthier after being lost for 10 hours. She looked at Vextar. What did they eat? What treatment did they receive? They ate nothing. They received no treatment. They simply rode on Officer Dae-jung's back while he walked his patrol. Dr. Reyes shook her head in amazement. Then the human's presence alone had therapeutic effects. I've never seen anything like this. Talmor had been studying his own data. Doctor, what is the average human body temperature? 37 degrees Celsius, why? And the temperature of Kryn nesting grounds during the hatching season? The doctor checked her database. 36 to 38 degrees. Similar range. Her eyes widened as she understood. The human's body heat mimics your nesting environment. Not just heat, Talmor continued. Human walking pace is approximately 120 steps per minute. This matches the rhythm of Kryn herd animals during migration. Human heartbeat at rest is 60 to 100 beats per minute. This matches the ambient vibrations of our ancestral nesting caves, caused by underground thermal vents. Vextar stared at him. Are you saying humans accidentally recreate our ideal environment for cubs? Not all humans. But this human, during normal activity, creates conditions that trigger deep evolutionary comfort responses. To your cub's instincts, riding on his back during a patrol is identical to being carried by their ancestors across safe territory. It was the strangest coincidence anyone could imagine. Millions of years of Kryn evolution, shaped by specific environmental conditions, somehow matching the natural state of one human doing his job. Daejung had been called to the ambassador's quarters to discuss what had happened. He sat uncomfortably on a chair designed for much larger beings while Kip and Ral played nearby. Every few minutes one of them would run over and climb onto his lap, clicking happily. They really like you, Vextar observed. This is unusual. Kryn cubs are cautious around strangers. I've always gotten along with kids, Daejung said. Any species. I don't know why. I just treat them like people who happen to be small. That is more profound than you realize, young officer. Many adults forget that children have thoughts, feelings, fears. They talk down to them, but you spoke to my cubs as equals who deserved respect. They recognized this. Ral brought Daejung a small toy, a carved stone that glowed softly. He took it and examined it with genuine interest. This is beautiful.
Did you make this?
Ral clicked proudly and nodded. You're very talented. He handed it back carefully. Vextar watched this interaction with deep thought. Officer Daejung, I have a question. It may seem strange. Go ahead, sir. When you found my cubs in the corridor, frightened and alone, what did you feel? Daejung considered this. I felt concerned. They were small and scared. The ventilation noise was loud. They shouldn't have been in that area. I wanted to help them feel safe. You did not feel annoyed? You did not think about the inconvenience? No, sir. They were just kids who needed help. That's not an inconvenience. That's just part of living in a community with different species. Vextar's scales shifted to a color that Dr. Reyes quietly identified as deep respect. This attitude is why humans are succeeding in the Galactic Coalition where others struggle. You do not see helping others as a burden. You see it as natural responsibility. Daejung looked embarrassed. I think most humans feel this way, sir. We're social creatures. We take care of each other. Not all species share this trait, Talmor said. He had been standing guard by the door, but now he moved closer. Kryn are loyal to family and clan, but we are not naturally trusting of outsiders. We must learn cooperation. It does not come instinctively. Many species are similar, Vextar added. We form alliances based on mutual benefit, not natural empathy. But humans seem to extend empathy automatically, even to species you have just met. That can be a weakness too, Daejung pointed out. We trust too easily sometimes. We get hurt, perhaps, but in a galaxy trying to build peace among 1,000 different species, your weakness might be exactly what we need. Lieutenant Hana arrived with Commander Park. The commander wanted to personally apologize to the ambassador for the incident, but when he saw Kip and Ral playing happily with Daejung, building some kind of block structure together, his prepared speech seemed unnecessary. Ambassador, I'm glad your cubs are safe. We'll be reviewing our security protocols to prevent this from happening again. Commander, I do not blame your security. I blame myself for not watching my cubs carefully enough. And I blame the situation. This station is loud, crowded, stressful for young ones. They were trying to cope with an overwhelming environment. Hana had been thinking about this. Ambassador, if I may make a suggestion. Please. We have several families with young children on this station. Different species, different needs, but they all face the same challenges. Strange environment, scary noises, too much stimulation. What if we created spaces specifically designed for young aliens? Quiet rooms with comfortable temperatures, soft lighting, safe places to play? The station has recreation areas, Commander Park said. For adults, yes. But children need different things. They need predictability, comfort, security. They need environments that match their species' natural habitats as closely as possible. Vextar's eyes brightened. This is an excellent idea. Kryn cubs need warmth, gentle vibration, dim light. Other species have other needs, but all young creatures need to feel safe. I'll propose it to the station council, Commander Park promised. It's a good use of resources. Talmor had been watching Daejung with the cubs. Commander, I have another suggestion. Officer Daejung clearly has talent for cross-species interaction. This incident proves it. Perhaps his skills could be used more formally. What do you mean? I mean that if Kryn cubs instinctively trust him, Other species young might respond similarly. He could help visiting families adjust to the station. He could be a bridge between human staff and alien children. Daejung looked up from the block structure. I'm just a security officer. I don't have training in child development or xenobiology. You have something better, Vextar said. You have natural empathy and patience. These cannot be taught. Commander Park nodded slowly. It's worth considering. We'll talk about this later, Officer Daejung. For now, you should probably get some rest. You've been on duty for 16 hours. Daejung stood carefully, trying not to knock over the blocks. Immediately, both cubs rushed over and grabbed his legs, clicking sadly. They don't want you to leave, Vextar translated. They feel safe with you. I have to go, little ones, Daejung said gently. But I'll visit again soon, okay? I promise. Kip looked up at him with large eyes and made a questioning click. Yes, really. I promise. Reluctantly, the cubs let go. But they watched him sadly as he left the quarters. In the hallway outside, Hana walked beside him. That was something special in there. The way they responded to you. I just talked to them like normal kids. That's exactly what made it special. You didn't see them as alien. You saw them as children. They walked in silence for a moment. The station was returning to normal operations. The evacuation orders had been canceled. Other ambassadors had stopped panicking. But the story would remain. Hana, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think this really means anything? The commander and the ambassador were talking about humans being special, about empathy and connection. But I'm just one person. I don't represent all humans, Hana smiled. Maybe not. But you represent something important. You show that genuine care transcends species barriers. You prove that understanding doesn't require years of study or formal training. Sometimes it just requires treating others with kindness and respect. That seems too simple. The best truths usually are. They reached the security station. Other officers wanted to hear the full story. Daejung told it, leaving out nothing, including his embarrassment at forgetting the cubs were on his back. Everyone laughed, but it was warm laughter. No one blamed him. Instead, they marveled at the strange coincidence that had saved the day. Officer Minho clapped him on the shoulder. Only you, Daejung. Only you could lose 2 cubs by accidentally carrying them around for 10 hours. I really didn't mean to. We know. That's what makes it perfect. That night, as Daejung finally got some sleep, the story spread beyond Kepler 9. It reached Coalition headquarters. It reached news networks. It reached other stations and planets across known space. The tale of the human officer and the missing cubs became famous. But more importantly, it started conversations about how different species could better understand each other, about how instinct and biology sometimes created unexpected connections, about how the galaxy's diversity wasn't just a challenge to overcome, but a resource to appreciate. In his quarters, Ambassador Vexistar held his sleeping cubs and thought about the future. For the first time since arriving at Kepler 9, he felt hopeful about his mission here. Do you think this really means anything? The commander and the ambassador were talking about humans being special, about empathy and connection. But I'm just one person. I don't represent all humans, Hana smiled. Maybe not. But you represent something important. You show that genuine care transcends species barriers. You prove that understanding doesn't require years of study or formal training. Sometimes it just requires treating others with kindness and respect. That seems too simple. The best truths usually are. They reached the security station. Other officers wanted to hear the full story. Daejung told it, leaving out nothing, including his embarrassment at forgetting the cubs were on his back. Everyone laughed, but it was warm laughter. No one blamed him. Instead, they marveled at the strange coincidence that had saved the day. Officer Minho clapped him on the shoulder. Only you, Daejung. Only you could lose 2 cubs by accidentally carrying them around for 10 hours. I really didn't mean to. We know. That's what makes it perfect. That night, as Daejung finally got some sleep, the story spread beyond Kepler 9. It reached Coalition headquarters. It reached news networks. It reached other stations and planets across known space. The tale of the human officer and the missing cubs became famous. But more importantly, it started conversations about how different species could better understand each other, about how instinct and biology sometimes created unexpected connections, about how the galaxy's diversity wasn't just a challenge to overcome, but a resource to appreciate. In his quarters, Ambassador Vextar held his sleeping cubs and thought about the future. For the first time since arriving at Kepler 9, he felt hopeful about his mission here. Dae-jung was quiet for a moment. Then he sat down on the deck floor, and all the children gathered around him. Some climbed into his lap. Others leaned against his sides. The two Kryn cubs on his back shifted to look over his shoulders. You know what? Yes, everyone gets scared sometimes. Even grown-ups. I was scared when I first came to this station. I didn't know anyone. I didn't understand all the different languages and customs. I made mistakes. But you're not scared now, the insectoid youngling chirped. Not as much. You want to know why? Because I learned that being different isn't scary. It's interesting. Every person I meet, every species I work with, they teach me something new. They show me different ways to think, different ways to be, and that makes the universe bigger and more wonderful. One of the canter pups looked up at him. Will we stop being scared too? Maybe not completely. A little bit of fear is okay. It helps us be careful, but you'll learn that this station is full of people who care about you. Your parents, the other families, the officers, even grumpy Chief Talmor. This got a laugh from the cubs who knew Talmor. We all want you to be safe and happy. You're not alone. Through the window, Hana saw several parents watching this scene. Some had tears in their eyes. Different species, different biology, but the same parental emotions. Relief, gratitude, hope. He really is remarkable, she said softly. He is human, Vextar replied. And humans, we are learning, are remarkable. Later that day, Dae-jung filed his report in the Cultural Integration Office. Hana reviewed it while he cleaned his equipment harness. The thing was getting worn out from constant use. They would need to order a new one soon. How do you do it? Hana asked. How do you make them all feel so comfortable so quickly? Dae-jung shrugged. I don't think I do anything special. I just remember being a kid. Remember how big and scary everything seemed. Remember wanting to feel safe. He paused. And I guess I just really like kids. Always have. They're honest and curious and they see the world in interesting ways. The coalition wants you to train other officers. Teach them your methods. I don't really have methods. I just treat them with respect. That's the method, Dae-jung. Respect, patience, genuine care. Those are skills that can be taught, even if they come naturally to you. He looked uncomfortable with the praise, as always, but he nodded. If it helps more families feel at home here, I'll do whatever you need. That evening, there was a small ceremony in the Children's Sanctuary. Commander Park presented Dae-jung with a special commendation from the Galactic Coalition. Ambassador Vextar gave a speech about bridges between species. Chief Talmor, looking uncomfortable, admitted that the human had acceptable qualities for someone so young and soft. Kip and Rao presented Dae-jung with a gift, a carved stone medallion showing a Kryn cub riding on the back of a human figure. It was beautiful work, probably created by Kryn artisans. So we always remember, Kip said in careful standard language. You kept us safe. You are family. Dae-jung accepted the medallion with visible emotion. He knelt down and hugged both cubs, who clicked happily and climbed onto his back one more time. The gathered crowd applauded. Multiple species, multiple cultures, all united in appreciating a simple act of kindness that had changed their understanding of what was possible. Later, when the ceremony ended and most people had left, Dae-jung stood alone at the sanctuary viewport. He looked out at the stars, thinking about the strange journey that had brought him here. From regular security officer to symbol of interspecies cooperation, from forgotten cubs on his back to a new way of thinking about galactic community. Hana found him there. Big day. Yeah, feels weird being the center of attention. You earned it. You changed things here, Dae-jung. You proved that understanding doesn't require advanced technology or centuries of study. Sometimes it just requires a warm back and a patient heart. He smiled at that. I just did what anyone would do. That's where you're wrong. Not everyone would do what you did. That's what makes it special. She stood beside him, looking at the stars. The galaxy is a big place. Thousands of species, millions of worlds. So much difference, so much potential for conflict, but also so much potential for connection. You showed us how to find that connection. One pair of lost cubs at a time, if that's what it takes. They stood in comfortable silence watching the universe spin outside the station. Somewhere out there, other stations were implementing the Kepler protocol. Other officers were learning to be patient with alien children. Other families were learning to trust across species barriers. It had started with two cubs climbing onto a human's back. It had grown into something bigger than anyone could have imagined. And Daejung, who never wanted to be special or famous, had become both. Not through strength or brilliance, but through simple kindness, through treating scared children with the respect and care they deserved. Through being human, in the best sense of the word. Kip appeared beside him, tugging on his uniform. Daejung? Will you tell us a story? About Earth? Ral joined his brother. Please. About the animals that carry children? Daejung laughed. You mean horses? Sure, I can tell you about horses. He sat down and the cub settled into his lap. Other children appeared, drawn by the promise of a story. Soon, Daejung was surrounded by young aliens of different species, all listening intently as he described Earth's animals and how humans had learned to work with them. Hana watched from the doorway and thought about the future. If this was what humanity brought to the galaxy, acceptance and empathy and endless patience with the young, then maybe the future was bright indeed. The predator cubs had gone missing. They were found riding on a human's back during patrol, and from that strange incident a new understanding had grown. Not bad for one forgetful security officer and two curious cubs.